Okay, hello everyone. All right, so we are still talking about decision structures, right? Now remember I said that there are so many decision structures, and one of them is the if statement. Now there is another decision structure called the if-else statement. Now we know with our if statement, this is how it works. We check to see if our Boolean expression, so for example, if 1 is less than 2, we check to see if our Boolean expression is true. And if it's true, we know that what in our curly braces is going to run. So we in this case, let's display a message saying that 1 is less than 2. So it checks first of all to see if this Boolean expression, this condition is true. And if it's true, the only time code inside these curly braces are going to run or is going to run is when this, what's in the parentheses here, results to true. If our Boolean expression results to true, and so we know this case is going to be true. And if it's true, then it's going to display this message, or it's going to execute this line of code. Compile this and then run, and it says yes, 1 is less than 2. If we change the sign from a less than to a greater than sign, check to see if 1 is greater than 2. We know that 1 is not greater than 2. So this statement 1 is greater than 2 is false. And if it's false, if this Boolean expression results to false, nothing in the curly braces is going to run. Instead, it's going to skip. It's going to go to the last. It's going to basically go to the end of the if statement and continue any code below it. All right. So the only time that code in the curly braces executes is when the Boolean expression results to true. So when we compile this and we run, nothing happens because it checked to see is 1 greater than 2. It says it's false, and if it's false, this code doesn't run. It goes to the end of the if statement and continues with code down below. Now, the if statement only does something if our Boolean expression is true, and then that's it. But then, in some instances, you would want to do something when a certain condition is true and do something when a certain condition is false. So that's where the if-else statement comes in. The if-else statement is just an extension of the if statement. So you're saying something like this. If 1, well, first of all, let's take it back to our first example. Is 1 less than 2? If 1 is less than 2, we know that's true, right? So this is going to run. So the if-else statement works like this. First of all, let's go ahead and create the structure. We'll come back to this, right? The structure is something like this. Okay, so if our Boolean expression goes here, and then what happens if our Boolean expression is true? And then the else statement continues right after the last curly brace, okay, of this if statement here. So else, all right, and then we can have another curly brace of what to happen. So this is how it works. This is the structure of an if-else statement. So if this condition, so this is where our condition goes. So I'm going to type in our same condition. 1 is less than 2. If that's true, then code that we type in this block, in these sets of curly braces, this opening and closing curly braces, runs, right? So we had system.out.println, and we said that correct. 1 is less than 2, right? Now the way the else part of it comes in play is what happens if the statement is not true. Now previously with our if statement, nothing happens if this Boolean expression is not true. It skips, it goes to the end of the if statement and continues with any code below. But the else statement will execute any code in this block if this Boolean expression is not true. And so if this is true, then display this message. If not, then do what's here rather. So if it's not true, then display a message. I'm going to go ahead and copy this line of code and then paste it here and say, if not, say, okay, wrong. 1 is not, or we can say, yeah, 1 is not. Well, in order to make this more dynamic, let's store these numbers in variables, right? Sorry, the typing is bad. Let's store these numbers in variables. So let's store the first one, which is the number 1, the number 1. Okay, it's an int. I'm going to call it, let's call it first number. I'm going to set it to 1. And then since both of them are integers, we can actually go ahead and declare them, declare and initialize them on the same line, right? Second number is equal to 2. right? Because they're both of the same data type int. So we can declare them on the same line by just typing this data type once. And so we can over here check if first number is less than second number, then say that correct. First number, and actually we don't have to type in the string, sorry. We can actually use the values of the variable. So let's close the string over here. We're closing it here, the string correct. Have a space. And then let's concatenate with the variable, the value of the variable first number. And then let's concatenate with another string. So I'm going to begin the string here, right? So we have the beginning, we're concatenating with another string here. So correct, first number is less than, let's concatenate it with the value of the second number, right? So correct, first number is less than second number. Else, then let's have the same statement, but this time we're going to say wrong, right? First number is not, let's just use a capital, not less than second number, right? So this, this is a bit more clear, right? So the way the if-else structure works is if this Boolean expression here results to true, then this line of code is going to run. That's it. After it runs, this if statement is done. It doesn't continue. It doesn't run any code here. This if-else statement is one, okay, or the other. It either does something or the other. If it's true, it runs the code in this block. If this is not true, then it doesn't run this. It runs this instead. It does either one or the other, right? So if it's true, do this. If not, do this, right? So in this case, first number, which is 1, is less than second number, which is 2. So in that case, system.out, it's going to print out correct. And then that's it. It's going to now jump to the end of the if statement and continue. This else part is not going to run. The only time this else part is going to run is if the Boolean expression here results to false. And in that case, if it's false, then we know this side is not going to run, but rather this else side, right, is going to run. Okay, so that's how the if-else structure works. If it's true, do this. If it's do this, and if it's not, do this, right? It's a good way to kind of send feedback to the user, right? Because if something is true, you want to tell the user, okay, fine, it's true. But if it's not true, with just the if statements, nothing happens. But with an if-else statement, we can say, hey, you're wrong, or this is not true. So the user can kind of have feedback. And you can use it in so many instances, right? So compile this and then run, and it says correct. 1 is less than 2. Now I forgot my space here. So it says correct, 1 is less than 2. But notice that it only displayed this because this Boolean expression resulted to true. And if it's true, only this runs. Else, this code will run only if this Boolean expression results to false, right? So let's change first number to 3, right? So it's going to check, is 3, right, less than 2? And so 3 is not less than 2. This whole Boolean expression is going to result to false. And if it's false, that's where the else, the code or the statements in the else curly braces execute, right? This side, okay, this line of code doesn't execute because this executes only if this Boolean expression is true. If it's false, then this the else part is what executes. So when I compile this and I run, since we're using the values, it's going to tell us a much more meaningful statement. Compile and then run, and it says wrong. 3 is not less than 2, which is good. Again, I forgot my space here. Compile and run. It says wrong. 3 is not less than 2. And so this is a kind of a neat little program to kind of test things out, and it does the comparison, right? So this is kind of a little mini, very very mini complete program that actually works. Okay, so I can type in, let's say 450, and then let's say randomly, I don't even have to look. I can just say 452, right? Without even thinking, without even looking at it, I can compile and run, and it's going to tell me correct. 450 is less than 452, and that's correct. And if I change this to, let's say, 459, compile and I run, and it says wrong. 459 is not less than 452. So that's how the if-else statement works. If something is true, then only the code in the if section, okay, curly brace, is going to run. If it's not true, then run only the code in the else part, okay, else curly braces, else section curly braces of your whole if-else structure. This whole structure is called an if-else structure. Okay, so I hope you get this. We're going to use this and see this in our programs moving forward. Okay, so if you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right then, bye-bye.